I'm a full-time personal trainer. I do teach some group fitness classes.
Tara never planned to work in fitness. But in 2020, she was motivated to make changes.
I ended up losing 110 pounds actually and got in the best shape of my life.
She was 31 when she was diagnosed with cancer.
You hear the C word and you think pediatrics or you think geriatric older adult, right? I was scared. I knew skin cancer existed. I didn't really understand what the course of treatment would look like for me, whether I was going to lose my hair, go through chemotherapy and radiation. Am I going to die? I hate to be morbid, but you hear the C word and your mind automatically goes there.
Her first warning sign was small.
I was always kind of a very moley person. I had a few pretty prominent moles on me, and there was one on roughly around my shoulder blade that I was getting really concerned about. It kept irritating my bra strap. I would go and get yearly skin exams, and for a couple of years, he kept saying that it was just cosmetic and it didn't need to be removed. I definitely feel like he continued to ignore the concerns that I had because I'm young and I don't look like I've ever tanned. A friend of mine, her and I go to the same health system for our primary care physician. And she had mentioned to me that they had a skin clinic. I got referred to the skin clinic. They ended up doing a shave biopsy. The first biopsy done with them was fine. But then maybe about a month or so later, not even, I noticed pigments coming back on to the same area that they had biopsied. I got the call around 5:30, 6 o'clock at night whenever I was sitting at the salon. And so relatively late for a doctor to be calling me. And I got the call that I had melanoma. They said that it was caught super early.
Tara was originally diagnosed with melanoma in situ, also known as stage 0. She had surgery to remove the skin cancer and a lymph node biopsy to see if it had spread. By then, it had spread and became stage 1B.
I was so scared. I was isolated because I couldn't have anybody with me. And then it took 3 nurses to get a vein to do the IV. And that was even just traumatizing because I'm just getting pricked and prodded. I don't know what's happening. I'm overwhelmed. And then all of a sudden I wake up with a drain tube attached to my armpit. Such a blast. About 2 weeks after the surgery, I had a drain tube for the lymph node biopsy, which was in my right armpit. I was surprised about treatment in terms of not needing to go through immunotherapy, chemo, radiation, but I was ignorant. You automatically hear cancer and your mind goes to those things. I didn't also realize how much of a toll it was going to take on for me financially, emotionally, and when I say also financially, not only am I a cancer survivor, but I'm also a domestic violence and sexual assault survivor. And I was finally getting out of that. The situation wasn't active per se, because a lot of this stuff happened in my childhood. There's a lot of community resources and nonprofits that were doing housing programs and stuff like that during the pandemic. I'm trying to process all these things. I'm moving out for the first time. Then I get hit with cancer. I lose my job. And how do I support myself? And just also the isolation that 2020 brought. I was working in retail. My position was an online grocery shopper. But for 2 weeks, because I had the stitches in my back, I had to be on light duty. They ended up letting me go because I had been there for under a year, so I wasn't eligible for benefits through them yet, which obviously leads into a lot more difficulties of being able to afford food, being able to afford rent, car payment, basic needs. So I struggled with that for a couple of years because as I was looking for new employment, oftentimes these jobs didn't want to accommodate you for the time off that I would need to go to my checkups.
This is when Tara decided to transform her life.
Jab, cross, lead hook, your hook. Yeah.
Prior to my diagnosis, I actually lost about 50 pounds through just diet and exercise. And then dealing with now cancer, priority shifted, I guess. And so I had gained it all plus some back. And I had reached a lifetime high of almost 240 pounds. Numbers for my, I guess it's the A1C were borderline pre-diabetic. And so I ended up asking for a referral for nutrition services. And that's kind of what really started helping to take care of myself, both like nutritionally and also going to therapy and really working on holistic health and wellness overall. I ended up losing 110 pounds actually and got in the best shape of my life. When you get hit with that C word, like you really start to think about what you're putting in your body. Working also in the fitness industry now full time, I'm surrounded by that. And it's constant motivation as well to continue down that journey. Eventually, I got into running and I had decided to start training for my first half marathon. It was funny because Pittsburgh Marathon is a huge event here in the city. They do what's called Run for a Reason. So it's a charity program where they have a list of charities that you can help fundraise for. It's called Young Adult Survivors United. They are a Pittsburgh-started based nonprofit that helps to support young adults who have been through any cancer diagnosis. It was just like this full circle moment of being able to help support an agency that means so much to me now, but to also bring awareness to young adults specifically that have been through cancer and what the impact of that is. Because of that group, I was able to get involved in other organizations that are targeted to young adults. There was a retreat camp through an organization called True North Treks, and it was a retreat camp for specifically melanoma survivors through the Melanoma Research Foundation. What made that special was it was specifically melanoma survivors. That was the first time I had ever met any other melanoma survivors. I would rather live with the scars than to ever have to deal with this diagnosis again. There's certain little things that I see or like I'll look at, like I happen to catch a scar and I am reminded of that diagnosis and I'm reminded of those times, but also it's still shaped who I am today and it's still a huge part of me. I hear this all the time that it was just skin cancer. It's not that serious. And I've had friends tell me that. I've had family tell me that. I've had random strangers tell me that. Over the summer was my 5-year cancer anniversary.
I'm really grateful for you guys. Guys did my the lymph node biopsy here at Jefferson, and here we are 5 years later.
Oh, wonderful.
Ring the bell 3 times well. It's told to clearly say my treatment is done. Its course is run, and I'm on my way.
I got to go to the hospital where lymph node biopsy was done and got to ring the bell. Whenever I made the call to the hospital, whoever answered the phone had said, well, that's typically reserved for people that have like finished treatments, finished chemotherapy, finished, immunotherapy, radiation treatments. And I came out and said, just because I didn't have chemotherapy doesn't make my survivorship and my anniversary any less insignificant. Just because my treatment was all surgery based doesn't make it any less insignificant. A therapist of mine, she never ceases to remind me that her seeing me go through my diagnosis played an effect in how, even though she would still go and get her yearly exams, she's a lot more diligent about checking her skin now as well. Get yearly skin checks, stay shady, use sunscreen, and be a community. Don't be afraid to get a second opinion. Young adult cancer is so unique because this is at a time of our lives where we are developing our careers. We are buying our first homes. We are getting out of, like I got into my first apartment out of an abusive situation during my diagnosis. And, getting married, dating, having kids. And then you find out that you have cancer and how that plays such a large effect on so many different areas of your life. Sometimes you are forced to choose, do I pay for my medical treatment or do I keep a roof over my head? It's not an easy decision to have to go through.
If you were moved by this story, we think you'll also enjoy this one, which we've queued up for you right here on your screen. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the patient story right here so that you can be notified about all of our recent uploads. Thank you for watching. You are not alone.